Right, so Jack, how did you get involved at Clarkston Colts then?
Yeah, I can't really remember that much, to be honest. My memory's famously bad. What I do remember is that obviously I'd known Scott since school. He was the year above me. Quite friendly with my cousin actually for so long. We spoke a wee bit, and I think it was quite out of the blue. Like we'd obviously kind of after leaving school, we'd kept in touch and played football. I think played sevens a few times. And out of the blue, I think he just messaged me one day, asked if I was interested in joining, and for various reasons before, I think mainly work, it had never worked out. I'd never been able to do it, and in that time, obviously, for whatever reasons, the stars aligned and it came out. So, yeah, I mean, there's no kind of a great story to it. Just Scott asked me, he was desperate to get me for who knows the reasons for it, but he was always desperate to get me. So, and I'm here, and it's been great.
And in terms of this is obviously sort of your proper first coaching role. So how did you find it the first couple of weeks there, and how did you integrate yourself within the sort of the coaching environment?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. I'd done just in kind of a bit of background. I'd done a wee bit of coaching before, like nothing major. I didn't have any badges or anything like that. Like I'd coached. I think when I was in sixth year, I'd coached the first year school team, like a lot of people do. And I'd obviously played football for a long time. In terms of the integration, I mean, I think that's one thing which anyone who's played for Clarkston Colts will, I'd like to hope anyway, all the players will say, certainly all the coaches will say, and I would hope again all the parents would say of the players that integration's easy because it's such a welcoming place. Right down from Mr. Thompson right down to Scott to Ashley and beyond, to me I guess at some point. It's so welcoming, which was great. Obviously then it's for me then becoming a coach and taking those steps and having to lead sessions, etc. Mainly with the goalkeepers, that's a bit of a challenge when you're doing it when you're still quite young now, but a bit younger then. I guess it was just kind of calling on that experience of having done it before, experience of I'd done a tiny bit of helping out the boys' brigade, that sort of thing, and I think they all came together. And as I say, what's helped me during the last couple of years, and or 4 years I guess it probably is now. What's helped me a huge amount has been doing those badges. I've gone up through my various levels now and continuing to go up, and having that grounding, having that experience is certainly been a huge help. And as I say, taking that experience and just in that friendly, welcoming environment where people are allowed to chat and to talk and just get to know each other. That was a huge help.
So we've actually got a question here from Ashley, who's obviously 2009 head coach, and it's obviously well documented that you are a goalkeeper. You have played in the goalkeeper position, but she's asking here, what other positions would you have liked to have played if you had the chance?
Yeah. It's a good question actually. I probably couldn't play any because I'm not very good, to be honest. Anyone that's seen me do the Parents v Players will probably testify to that, or who's seen me do fives or pretty much anything would probably testify to that. I don't know, I think I'd see myself as a kind of holding midfielder with the kind of shirt tucked in, socks down, sleeves rolled up. I think I could see myself, kind of like a Scottish Pirlo, I would say. I can't wait for that to be taken out of context after this. A Scottish Pirlo or something like that is what I would love to be, but I stick to goalkeeping for very good reasons, just because of a lack of skill and ability, balance, technique, all those sorts of things.
So obviously in terms of, we've just touched on there, you played in goals, you grew up sort of goalkeeper. Who's your kind of role models or your inspirations, probably within football or possibly even outside it?
It's a good question. I mean, inspiration, growing up, I had a few idols, obviously, like everyone does. First and foremost, my first idol was Stefan Kloss at Rangers, just I think because that was, I started getting into football, I started to understand it, and it was, a huge thing my grandpa and I had together. We watched the football, and that's took me to games, and I saw Kloss play obviously at the time, so he was a huge idol. Then obviously, like a lot of people, I was into the Premier League. Unfortunately supported Sunderland for a lot of that, and maybe less now, but definitely still do to an extent. And Craig Gordon going down there was quite big, a Scottish guy, relatively young Scottish guy, kind of like I think the age I am now. He went down there, so that's that was always a huge thing to see. And he was a brilliant goalkeeper, and I used to love watching him in match of the day, seeing clips of him playing and so on, which is always always huge. So yeah, these kind of guys, and obviously like Alan McGregor's, David Marshall's, further afield, Gigi Buffon's always been a hero of mine.
And again, just sort of talking about football and getting back to playing it. Question we've kind of been asked a lot on the social medias was also about the viral clip of you taking part in the lockdown challenges. And it's just a question here asking if you're actually allowed to play out the back garden anymore.
I thought this might come up. Oh my god. The short answer is no. I'm very much banned from playing there for good reason. I'll say, in case she also watches this, I would say it's a good decision that I'm banned. In truth, I do still keep uppies occasionally. I've actually had to go and ask for my ball a few times from the neighbours, even though I'm 24, which is not ideal. So yes, short answer, no, I'm not allowed to play anymore.
And the follow-up question we've got to that is, where actually did you get your hanging baskets from?
It's a good question. Actually, I think it was a popular question from what I saw, and a lot of love for the hanging baskets. Probably more so than Scott in the last clip. They're from B&Q, and if I remember correctly, they were quite cheap. I think like $2.50. So if you're looking to, spruce up your garden or whatever, that's what I'd recommend. And
I think a question that doesn't really get asked a lot of you is your outside kind of life. So obviously you're a journalist. Just want to get your take on how you actually went down that route and what you think you'd be doing if you didn't go down that route.
That's a really interesting question. So again, how I go down that route, it's mainly because I've always enjoyed writing and speaking to people for the most part. I've enjoyed that. As I've gone into my career, I've enjoyed the privilege of being able to speak to so many varied people. I think it was just purely from a love of writing and wanting to see what's going on in the world, wanting to see these amazing things that people get up to, and to have a chance to be involved in that in some more passive way, but certainly to be involved in that. In terms of kind of how I got into that, just to kind of to not bore folk, I went to university originally at Glasgow, then I went to Glasgow Cali, did a postgrad there, did some work experience. And I'd done stuff in the past, like working for student newspapers, that sort of thing, and I'd done a lot online. I went quite a traditional way, to be honest. I did some work experience at Evening Times, as it was then, got offered a job in one of the local newspapers, spent two really good years there, now I'm in the Glasgow Times as it's called there. And absolutely loving that, despite the challenges which folk will know about. I also cover Alloa athletic games as well, which is it's been a real great privilege actually in the last 2 years, and it's a nice team, great players, great football to watch. I think, and I'm really fortunate to do that. In terms of if I wasn't doing that, I don't know. Actually, it's a good question. I'd obviously like to be a footballer, but for reasons already stated, that's probably not going to happen. Probably quite enjoy history, as kind of been saying there. So maybe a history teacher or a modern studies teacher or some sort of historian. Did always quite like being a librarian, but that's quite a boring answer. But I'll say that. Why not? A librarian. Can be down at Petersburg Library. I'm sure that'd be some image.
So in terms of just sort of wrapping up here, we kind of touched on the lockdown easing in the last interview and the thoughts on that as well of getting back. What is your thoughts about getting back now? What's been put in place in terms so we can go back training safely, and what's your feelings towards it all? Yeah,
I mean, obviously, a huge part of my role, what I was asked to do and happy to do, was to be the club's COVID-19 coordinator. So, that's involved me having to go through all the SFA guidance, which has been quite comprehensive, and I know there have been frustrations about it being released and so on, and I understand that. But I think when it's come, it's been very comprehensive and always quite clear. So in terms of that, that's been a huge thing. So to give you an idea, the things we have to do as a club, the things we're having to put in place for, as we film this tomorrow, but I'm sure by the time folk watch this, they will have seen it in action. But we're having to make sure the players and coaches stay 2 meters apart. We're having to make sure the equipment's cleaned. We're having to make sure we take a register of all the players when they turn up, just in case we need to help with test and trace. So there's all these things we have to take into account. And it's because, and this I think is the main point, it's because then it means we can get back to playing football, which, myself and the other coaches, I've talked about this, it's with the committee and anyone I've spoken to in recent weeks, be it through my work or anything that's involved in football. I think that's just what we want. We just want the kids to be back together, to be back with their friends. I think that's the most important thing. There is going to have to be, at some point we'll do pre-season training and all that kind of stuff, but we don't know when the league starts. So for us, and for me anyway, the most important thing is just getting the kids together, playing football, kicking them all about, seeing their pals, which they haven't seen for for so long, and I think it's one of the coaches mentioned this actually earlier when we were talking. A big thing for our 2007s in particular is that they are moving into high school, so it's a big time for them. So if we can help make a difficult time a bit easier by giving them their football back, giving them that sense of normality back, then I think that's huge. And it's just, yeah, it's just a great, exciting time for everyone, I think, involved in the club to be able to get back and doing what we all really want to do.